What's up, everyone? Alex and Daniel here.
Last week, we put a call out to the community to send in questions to ask Scott Strickert, localization producer for the Yakuza series, and you didn't disappoint. In the interest of time, we'll be doing this as a rapid-fire set of questions, and we'd like to thank our communities on Discord and Reddit in providing these questions.
So without further ado, let's roll right into them. Are you ready, Scott?
Let's do it. I'm excited.
Okay, first question. Since Fist of the North Star got the Yakuza treatment, what IP would you want to see as a Yakuza-like game?
Me personally, and this is just me personally, I think everyone would about die if we got JoJo.
Ooh,
Yes!
That's awesome.
Yes!
That's great.
That's my kind of answer.
That's right. All right. Can you run us through your day-to-day job of localizing Yakuza games?
This is supposed to be simple?
Not this one, apparently.
Oh, okay. Well, I come in, I look at text, I write text, and I manage people who are writing texts.
Is Sega surprised that the Yakuza series has been doing well outside of Japan?
I wouldn't say surprised so much as pleased.
How difficult was it to get the PC ports greenlit?
Those have been handled by our friends at Sega Europe, and we've been in discussion for that for a long time, so I guess it was fairly difficult.
Great. Have you ever met the Japanese voice actors?
I've not. I would love to, though. Takai Kuroda is going to Paris Games Week, though. Not Paris Games Week, I'm sorry, Japan Expo. I keep getting those two shows confused.
Okay, I mean, you answered this in the previous part, but how hard was it to localize Yakuza 5?
I didn't work on Yakuza 5, so I'm guessing it was really hard because it's one of the biggest Yakuza games ever.
Would it be possible to ask about the PS4 remasters and if they're going to be uncut for the United States?
No, it is not possible to ask about the PS4
Is there any chance of getting Ishin or Kenzan in the West?
You guys are killing me. There's a chance. There's also not a chance. I don't know. I mean, it's greater than 1% and less than 99.
Okay, I'll take it. Do you know about the Save Ishin hashtag?
I do, and I love everyone who's campaigning around that title, and I would love to be able to work on it. To be clear, I would love the opportunity to work on that title. We literally do not have the space in the Yakuza calendar to do it.
Would it be possible to provide subtitles for ambient dialogue, like from NPCs around Kamurocho or from enemies during fights?
We do to some extent, but there's also some extent I don't want to. I think that there's some magic in being able to hear the Japanese, the way that those insults work is key to understanding that you're in Japan, oi kora, hey, come here kind of thing. Like, it just doesn't have the same effect.
Are there any plans to add a Go minigame in Yakuza?
Go would be a great fit. I don't know why they haven't done that, but I certainly don't control what minigames get added.
Are there plans to improve the tutorials in the Shogi minigame to make it less intimidating for new players?
No.
That's a good answer. Is the continuation of Yakuza on PC dependent on its sales?
That's true of any game, I think, is there's a certain sales expectations that has to happen, but I hope that we will be able to continue bringing those titles to PC. That's where we need to be.
Can we expect Yakuza 6 and other games, hopefully the entire series, to eventually end up on PC?
Buy Yakuza 0 and Kiwami, please!
What do you think of Yuya appearing in every game and being the glue that holds the series together?
Yuya? The glue?
That's what they said.
I mean, I'm really glad that he's in every game. He has a great character arc if you follow it through the whole series, but I don't know about the glue.
Yeah, I don't think I agree with that either.
Hey, I'm just reading off of people's questions.
No, I get
absolutely. I appreciate the question, and I think that person has clearly thought about Yuya more than I have, maybe. So that's really good.
I think somebody also said that Date was really the glue. That I'm like, okay, I'm not going to get into this argument. Okay, in some games in the Yakuza series, you see the word bro or boss in place of the word aniki. But then, in later games, you start seeing aniki a lot more. What was the reason for this move, and was there a lot of internal discussion about this?
The reason for that move is because I listened to y'all. Y'all were like, no, this is not how you localize that word, which is fine. It was how you localize that word. We used the appropriate version of sir or bro, being based on the relationship between those two people. But at the end of the day, it was a forced kind of term. And after Kiwami, the feedback essentially was, you're doing it wrong, even though we weren't. But so we were like, you know what, screw it. We're going to go ahead and give you Aniki, and you're going to like it. So I guess that it didn't take much discussion because, I mean, it was me and Sam just more or less talking about doing that. And the way that, 6 throws around that word, there was no writing around it anyway. Nagumo calls Kiryuaniki. It's practically an honorific at that point. So we knew that at that point it was just, let's just let this one in, which is, I think, has worked to its favor.
What do you like most about the Yakuza series?
I like so much about it.
This is the one that stumps you? Really?
It's like, how do you pick one thing, right? The sub-stories are amazing. The characters are amazing. The writing is amazing. What's the one thing that's like amazing the most about it, Majima is amazing. It's all amazing. It's hard to like, I'm so entrenched in this series. It's hard to say that this is the one aspect I love about Yakuza. I love everything.
Okay. I mean, I like everything in the series too, but will all the this is a bit technical. Will all the fonts in the text and subtitles be replaced in the PS4 remasters of 3 to 5? Wait, I don't think you can answer that really.
Yeah,
right.
You can't get me on that.
Okay. Will the encounters, chase battles, and bosses also be translated with the Edo font instead of keeping the original Japanese text with subtitles below it?
Kiwami 2, of course, keeps Edo. It's become the Yakuza font, despite the fact that it's everywhere now. I see it, and I post about it, which is fun, because I always like, hey, it's the Yakuza font, and I think it's kind of an in-joke to this whole community now, which is awesome.
How many people in the Ryuga Gotoku studio work on an average Yakuza game?
That's a really good question. I know they have a revolving team, but especially where it comes to the producers and directors that, they start rolling people through it, like they're on one thing and then they move to the next thing before it's completed, that kind of thing, because they're individual tasks. Like, let's say that they're a map guy or they're a programming guy, it's, well, I finished this game and now I'll move to the next. But I don't actually know how many people are at RGG.
Will you ever try to work Like a Dragon into a subtitle for a future Yakuza game? Example, Shin Yakuza, Like a Dragon.
I see what you did there. It's not my decision alone. I have to, discuss that with our entire marketing team, because the game has to be, they have to agree with what that's going to say on the shelf and how that's going to appeal to the retailers, all that kind of stuff. My part of it, I think that's a more appropriate subtitle at this point than Yakuza. I don't know that we'll ever be able to do that, though. It's a little awkward. It's a little weighty in terms of being saleable. What are you playing? Like a Dragon,
Well, I mean, it's not that far removed from the Song of Life.
True. At least as a subtitle.
Yes. What is your favorite game in the series, and why is it Dead Souls?
Wow.
That's a loaded question.
The definition of a loaded question. I have yet to play Dead Souls, and that's the true hole in my armor when it comes to the series. And I did that because I was like, I don't want to confuse what's canon and what's not in my head while I was trying to get this kind of whole thing pinned down. And now it's time to go back and play that game, and I absolutely have to do it. But the answer to the question is Yakuza 0, because it was my first, and it's a fantastic game.
Totally agree with you. What are the team's thoughts on Sleeping Dogs?
I don't know. I mean, we've all played it, and I think the one thing that kind of irks us is when people are like, oh, Yakuza, that Sleeping Dogs ripoff, and we're like, guys.
That's a weird thing to say.
Yeah, because it's not. It's been around before Sleeping Dogs, and I actually enjoyed the heck out of Sleeping Dogs.
How does it feel to see all the positive growth for the series in America in terms of both the fan base and reputation?
Incredible, in a word. I think we've come such a long way from Yakuza 0, where people were scared that this series was on its deathbed, and rallying around that release to make sure it did well, and it did, and it worked. And now I myself am 4 games deep within 2 years of having come to this company to work on Yakuza, and I think that we owe that all to the fans as much as the devs, and I'm excited to see where it goes from here.
Is there more US Yakuza merch in the works besides the Yakuza 6 shirt?
Tell us what you want. Hit Sam on Twitter. I don't have I don't have the power to do it. But
I didn't even know there was a shirt. I'm gonna buy it now.
Yeah, it's actually really cool. When you first see it, you're like, whoa, that's big and unwieldy. But the way it lays out on the shirt is really nice. But yeah, I would love to see more merchandise. One of the things I threw out at our marketing team was to make a farts jacket.
There was actually a piece of merchandise that I saw Sam wear, I think in one of the streams you guys were doing. I think it was like a Yakuza 5 shirt where it's literally like this tattoo print that goes over the shoulder and to the back. Do you remember?
Oh yeah, I wore that almost every stream.
Dude.
And Yeah, right? Incredible, but also very hard to print.
I also remember that conversation from that stream.
Why did you drop the use of diacritics like they did in Yakuza 3, such as with Kiryu's name?
No, we don't use those. I guess I think it'd be kind of off-putting to throw that out just to make sure that you knew how to pronounce it. The word, even the word Yakuza is fairly mispronounced, and this is just one of the things of being in the Japanese game industry. There's foreign words that people have to wrap their mouths around, and it doesn't always come out right, which is fine. It's okay if you mispronounce things. It's not okay if you mix Kiryu with Goro, though.
Oh, yeah.
What are the reasons that Ishin and Kenzan and the PSP games have not seen any localization in the West?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's before your time, so...
It was before my time, and it's, can you imagine us going back to the PSP at this point and being like, okay guys, we're releasing a new game for the PSP.
Well, to be fair, Xseed did release a PC port of East 7, which was originally a PSP exclusive.
Right, you're right. There would be ways around it. I don't deny that. But man, guys, like I said, 2 years, 4 games. Name another series that's given you this much content.
No, agreed. Absolutely. What are the chances of the games being localized to languages other than English?
I am working hard on making that happen, actually. And it's all about making sure we have the pipeline set up to be able to do that and still be able to deliver the content on time, because that takes an extra amount of time. It forces us to text lock earlier. And at the end of the day, there needs to be an efficient way to handle that. And so far, and until I find that efficient way to handle that, I can't do it. But I am actively working on that because I know that there are fans out there, especially in Europe, who really support Yakuza despite the fact that it's not in their native language, and I want to give those guys what they want.
Is there more support to market the Yakuza games compared to older titles?
That goes back to me not being around for the older titles, but we have marketing people assigned to this project now. We have a Twitter feed, and a Facebook feed, and I think overall it's in pretty good health.
I know people often joke about Google Translate, but is there a use for similar software in the process?
We have translators, professional translators, who destroy Google Translate's ability to translate, at least as it stands now. Maybe in the future, it's going to take all our jobs, but it does have its uses, I think, especially for if I just need to look up something that one line just to see what's another translation or something that the translator might have missed a word, and I can get that out of Google Translate if I don't have access to that translator. It helps.
What is the Japanese developers' interaction with the Western team?
We're in communication with them on a regular basis, especially when we start getting QA, or when we're in the middle of translation. We have story questions. We have questions about how we're going to be able to do something in the West, and we're asking permission to change things or coming up with ideas, bouncing stuff off of them. We have such a great relationship with those guys. I can't overstate enough that it's incredible to be working with such a really passionate team who's really devoted to helping that content succeed in the West, and it's so good.
How do they react to your output?
To a certain extent, they let us own it. If the translation's bad, people aren't going to go to them and say, man, your translation sucks. They're going to come to us and say, dude, your translation sucks. Or if it's good, we're going to get praised, and people are going to be like, wow, I'm so glad you guys localized this. Thank you. They understand that we are the owners of the localization effort, and we're also going to be held responsible for its quality. So they have let us be that and let us make those kind of decisions that go along with that, which is, again, just incredible of them to have that much faith in us.
Have any funny stories?
Yes.
We'll leave it at that.
Moving on. What takes the most time during localization?
These games are massive. The writing of the games themselves takes probably the most amount of time and the most amount of staff and people to just sit there and churn through all this text. When you really think about any Yakuza game as an example, when you see a sub-story and there are 3 options that you can pick from, and each one is a dialogue tree that develops a completely separate, line of conversation, especially if it comes back later in the sub-story, you can only imagine how big that sub-story was for us to parse, The sub-stories, in terms of content, I think the typical Yakuza game, the main story is the biggest, the sub-stories are the next biggest, and then the cabaret is the next biggest, because there are 5 to 6 girls who have branching dialogue for 3+ dates,
What has been your favorite game to localize, Yakuza or otherwise?
it's hard to pick one favorite. They're all your kids. Yakuza 0, of course, is up there. 3D Game Heroes was epic for me because it was just a bunch of stupid references to old NES games, and it was like being able to write what I grew up with. Persona 4 stands out to me as being an incredible piece just because it dealt with so many different themes and emotions, and there was so much to that game and so much passion around it. Yeah, I think those would be my top 3.
Okay, great. Well, Scott, thank you very much for your time. I know we took quite a bit of it, but thank you for this opportunity, and we're looking forward to Yakuza Kiwami 2 once it comes out in August, man. Thanks a lot.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, guys.
And that concludes part 2 of our interview with Scott Strickert. I just wanted to give a quick shout out again to Jacob at Sega for making this all happen. And I want to also acknowledge my podcast co-host Daniel for joining me in this interview. You can find him on youtube.com/Shintai Reviews, with a link in the description of this video. What did you think of the interview? Post your thoughts on the comments below. Also, I'll be making videos on Yakuza, Final Fantasy XIV, Warframe, and RPG and co-op games on this channel. So hit that subscribe button and the bell icon so you'll be notified of my latest videos. Thank you very much for watching, and have a wonderful gaming week.